So today we're going to be talking about expired listings because tomorrow is Ultimate Prospecting Day. If you haven't been around for the first of the month or know what that is, that means that we have the most expired listings of the month come out on the first of the month. So you have a better chance at reaching out to expireds and finding one home on expired day.
All right, let's talk about this. Expired listings. Why do we all hate them? We hate them because they're usually pretty aggressive phone calls, right? These guys have just hired somebody, had a bad experience. What are some of the other reasons that we resist calling expired listings?
They have a relationship with that other agent and it makes it hard.
Good.
So that's a good mindset. And that says they've already got a relationship, so I don't want to call and get in the middle of that relationship. And I think that that's what you're thinking. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I mean, and when it happened to me, I've only had one expired listing. My client called me and said, hey, we're going with a new build and we have to use their agent to sell our house. And I want to make sure you're not going to be offended by it. And that made me stop and think, hey, like, how do you make that okay with someone or with the other agent so that they don't feel like they're cheating on their agent? Well, even though it's an expired.
Everybody's going to have a different response to that, and that
Agreed.
a lot of the clients, they're expired and they don't want to list with that past agent because they failed to sell it, and it's okay for them to shop for another agent. Sometimes they do have that relationship, and that's really why you're making that phone call, is to find that out. It's just a simple phone call. It's not really, hardcore. You're going to list with me. You don't have to behave like me, right? You don't have to be that agent. You can call and just have a simple conversation as if you're a best friend in the room together and finding out what happened.
And I did have one on the other side. So I guess that does speak to that. I do, because I didn't call the expired, but she had worked with Corey and she had another agent, and I had given her straight advice before she actually hired this other agent. So when it didn't sell, she called Corey and said, hey, can you give me your wife's phone number? Because she was the only one who was honest with me. And I listed her house and sold it in 10 days for the same price the other guy couldn't get it sold for. So I mean, I guess I understand that side. So coming from the aspect of, hey, you're just having a conversation about where they're at and
to find out if you even can help them, because you may not be able to. They may have that relationship. They may be upside down and you don't want to do a short sale. They may have rented it out. Like, there are so many different reasons why they may not be moving forward with an agent, but you don't know that unless you pick up the phone and talk to them or knock on the door.
That makes it easier for me to let go.
I have on top of my script, I have written what happened, like handwritten what happened, because I'm really curious about what happened and how can I help. What happened? How can I help? So it's really a problem solving conversation that I have with them.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
We're going to run into a lot of people, guys. I've run into agents that listed their own home, failed to sell it, pulled it off. I was calling expireds. I actually had somebody shadowing me. I set an appointment with an agent and they hired me to sell their home. That happened here in Utah. Interesting, right? So, all it is solving a problem. So we'll talk about some different things like that. Is anything else getting in the way? Anybody else? I was talking to Danette and Ross last week, and they're like, yeah, we stopped calling people up in South Jordan because we didn't want to trip into you, and we know we can't compete. I was like, oh, so here's a funny story about that. Connor, my son, was calling expired listings one day, set an appointment, goes to do the CMA, and he comes down and he goes, Dad, this was your expired listing. And I was like, oh, yeah. Anyways, long story short, I encouraged him to go. I said, it's always a little bit different. He went and he set the appointment and got the listing. So Connor got one of my expired listings. So please don't not call them because you think that I'm calling them. That's there. What else? Anything else getting in your way? Any stories going on in your head about expired listings?
Rod, I have a hard time reaching them. There's usually 5 phone numbers, and I call them, I get 3 beeps, that's dead. I text them. We don't have emails with RedX, the service that we're using. So I will spend 2 hours and not reach a single person. That gets frustrating really fast.
Very
Correct.
good. Yes, that definitely happens.
7 is better. Maybe we need to try another one.
Ross,
Yeah.
no, they all suck. And the reason is because we've got the do not call. Most people have their cell phone, and these providers don't necessarily always pick up their it is not as easy to get their telephone number as it used to be. Once upon a time, it was every single expired that came through had a phone number that was correct before the do not call came up. So don't think that that's going to be an issue that's ever going to be solved. The way that you solve it is the same thing that I say with the do not call. Do you know what DNC means or do not call means?
The do not call list, or you get in trouble.
Okay, rewrite it. Do not call, please knock.
So we
Do
do
not
go
call,
to their
please knock.
homes. We do go to their homes. We do
Mhm.
leave them something if they're not home. Many times they've already rented the home out. And we found that. We found that sometimes when we call, it might be someone that owned the home 10 years ago, or it
Yep.
might be a son or a daughter or someone else,
So
But if
you're
we
just
do
gonna
leave it or not.
build your own system like you have, Dana, with other ways to reach them. Do I try to call them, I try to text them, I try to email them, I try to door knock them, I try to mail them. Like, go through the whole entire
Oh,
list
we
of
have them.
ways that
And
you
we-
can reach them. Are you checking on LinkedIn for their information?
No,
Are
that's-
you checking on social media? Are you really going the extra mile for the ones that you really want to capture?
Yeah, we do mail them, but usually only if we talk to them, and then we mail them.
Okay. Yep. So you are not going to get a ton of people on the phone. Just so
You're not.
it's just
I
it is
call
what it
all
is.
day long almost.
That's why you limit the time that you're calling,
Yeah.
because you got other things you got to do.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about why it has been and usually is a great resource. At the end of the day, you only need to set 1 appointment a day. You really only need to set 3 or 4 appointments a week to have a ridiculously successful real estate business, which can all happen from one lead source, right? And the more you do it, the more you're going to find those little nuances that make you even better, right? And so this is one of those things, like every lead source, when you get started with it, and a lot of us are newer at starting at this lead source, you're going to struggle. You're going to go through some tough times. And when you do, I want you to think, what could I change, or what could I have said differently? How could I have approached this to make it a little bit different? Here's why expireds have always been a staple in the real estate industry. There are a million ways to generate leads. We can pay for them. We can go to social media. We can buy, Zillow leads or realtor leads or homes.com leads. We can do all kinds of different things. We can door knock. The reason that expireds have been such a staple, and one of the main sources that most of the experienced real estate agents go to, is because it's immediate business. It's business right now. And it's typically, guys, every time you get a listing, it typically is a buy as well. They're going to sell something and they're going to buy something. I would say 75 or 80% of the time. Sometimes they buy outside of our area, which is okay as well, because you can refer them and make money without having to do any work, which is kind of a fun gig, right? So the reason that they have been such a staple is they want to sell their house right now. The only mistake they made is they hired the wrong agent for the job. Now, one of the things that Jeff talks about, and we've talked about for a long time, is the mindset of, when you go into expireds, assume it was the agent's fault that the house didn't sell. Don't worry about price. Don't worry about condition. Assume it was the agent's fault is the reason it didn't sell. Now, really quick, Rod, have you expired listings all the freaking time? I've got 2 listings right now that I'm worried about expiring again, right? And they both came from expired listings, and I'm worried about expiring them again. Does that mean they hired the wrong agent? Yeah, it actually does. Because here's the reality. If I were a little bit better at convincing them that they were overpriced, their house would have sold. If I were a little bit better about helping them to stage the house, their house would have sold. So it really does boil down to my skill set, my mindset at the time. So don't be, I guess that's really what I'm saying, is don't be intimidated regardless of who the agent was on the other side and how good of a reputation they have. There are times when we're not on top of our game and we make mistakes, and you guys might be the perfect voice that they need to hear in order to make the decisions that are going to help them to sell their house. And like Annette said, a lot of times it's not price. A lot of times it just was timing. And they hired an agent, the house didn't sell, she hired them and sold it at the exact same price that they were listed at before, right? So those kinds of things happen. I just want to make sure that we're understanding this. All of us are doing a lot of things, and it's busy without being productive, right? In real estate, there are always things that will pull our attention. Getting a website set up, making sure we understand blah, 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 all the technology that we're using. But we want to make sure that a portion of our day, every single day, is really designed around productivity, and expired listings is an opportunity every single day to be productive with right now business, money in the next 30 days. Because if
Rod, do you remember when we went to let's see, it was Arizona in the fall, how many expired listings Jeff's team had taken the quarter before, the month before? Do you remember those numbers?
So they had 93 sales in the prior quarter, and 57, I want to say, were expired listings, and the rest of them came from other sources. And this is his team. So, keep that in mind.
It was by far their largest source of business in the previous quarter. By
Number
far.
one source. Number
And
one.
again, when we went to Florida, it was the same thing. He reviewed those numbers again. Was that Florida? Where did we go? No, we went back to Arizona.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was the same quarter, but it really boiled down to, this is the number one lead source for productive real estate agents in the country. It always has been, and in my mind, it always will be.
I
There's a
actually think
couple of
they're
other
easier
things that
than
are
for sale by
making this-
owners.
Sorry?
I think they're easier than for sale by owners.
The only difference?
The only reason I think that, I agree with Melody, and the only reason I think that is because for sell by owners are giving you their phone number. So
Right.
every agent has access to it because no one's going to work the extra work to get their phone numbers
To find
and
them.
find a
Yes,
lot of people.
But expireds have already agreed to pay a commission, and for sell by owners, that's the trick with them.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Different
Right.
beast, but
Well, what's really funny is, and that's why Rod's like, I don't know, I like for sale by owners better. As you know, Rod and I were competitors, and he was calling for sale by owners and I was calling expireds. And we were having almost the same conversation, but a little bit different, because I was talking about the past agent. He was not even thinking about the agent. The reason why is because as soon as they expire, they list it for sale by owner. And that's why it's the same person. We would end up setting the same appointment, like not at the same time, but appointments with the same seller, but having a little bit different approach. So it could be that you have, instead of going with the expired script, that you decide that you're going to go with the more for sale by owner type script. And
But it
that
really
might be an
is. At the
approach
end of the
that's
day,
easier
an
for you.
expired is now a for sale by owner that still wants to sell their home. And the difference is this, guys. So when somebody decides to sell their home, their motivation is up here and their pain is down here. So their motivation is greater than their pain, which caused them to make the decision to move, right? The pain of moving is what I'm trying to say. However, if
Somebody didn't check their background.
my phone was ringing. I was shutting it
Oh.
off. Here's the difference, is when they become expired and don't want to list, the pain is up here and the motivation is down here. Does that make sense? And it's usually just a little bit of a difference. So what I want you to think about, yes, you've got to figure out how to communicate with them, we'll solve that problem. Make calls, go out and visit the ones close to your home, especially the ones that are owner occupied. And by the way, if you do happen to come across a tenant, those guys are going to be expiring in a lease 12 months from now, and 10 months from now is a perfect time for them to decide to pay their own mortgage instead of somebody else's. So you've got opportunities to go ahead and do that. But that's the question. So it's always going to come down to motivation versus pain and pleasure, right? So the motivation, understanding why they were going to move, is always the beginning script. It's always the way that we start. And then we just want to ask a couple of follow-up questions to either enhance the pain or enhance the pleasure of moving. And that's all you have to do, guys. And then we want to set an appointment. A couple of the big mistakes that I see or have seen over the years that people make when they're calling expireds is when somebody gives them an objection, they get nervous and they panic and they start to solve the problem over the phone. If you solve a problem over a phone, there's no reason for them to meet with you.
Write this one down.
The
That's
other thing,
exactly why we need to get together. That was about the most powerful objection handler I've ever learned.
so whenever
Whatever
they
they
have
throw at you, that's exactly why we need to get together. So I can show you how XYZ benefits you.
whenever they have a problem, what they're saying is, if you can solve my problem, I'm ready to hire you, right? When they ask you what your commission is, they wouldn't care if they weren't going to hire you. They want to hire you. That should get you super excited. Guys, it sounds like getting the most money possible from your home is important to you. Am I hearing that right? Yes. Terrific. We utilize commissions to ensure that you get the highest possible price. Would that be okay? Right? Let's discuss it as soon as we get together, however that is. But just keep that in mind. Don't answer anything over the phone, because then there's no reason to meet with you, but they're hiring you or they wouldn't be asking you the question. So go ahead and set the appointment at that point. Great, let's get together. I'm going to share with you how I solved that problem. Great, let's get together. I'm going to share with you how I solved that problem. The next thing that you don't want to do is make them wrong. When they get frustrated, and believe me, they're frustrated. They've just been through a really uncomfortable experience. They hired somebody, told them what their home was worth, told them they were going to bring buyers, that they were going to sell their house. Then they had strangers start to show up. They were getting displaced at dinner time. They were getting displaced on the weekends, right? And it became really uncomfortable. And every time somebody displaced them, they got rejected. How many of you guys love rejection? How many of you guys love it when somebody comes into your house, and if your house, you're already intimidated when people are coming into your house? Oh, it's not clean enough. Oh, it's not nice enough. Oh, it's not new enough. And then they come in and then they don't like it and they reject you. How does that make you feel? They've had a miserable experience, guys. So be empathetic, understanding about all of that process, be a solution, and that's going to solve the problem. But always think about that as you're talking to them. The other thing is, assume that it was the agent's fault. We talked about that really quick. And don't make them wrong. Okay, we hit all.
Give him hope. Give him hope. That's really important, is to, you are their hope. And that this is something good for that mindset that you've been carrying. You are sent to them basically to get their house sold. You are their only hope.
Yeah. You're the best. You are the best solution for their problem. Now let's talk about some of the objections that you guys are going to hear, right? What are some of the objections, people that have been calling expires? What are some of the objections?
Hey, before we jump into objections, can I say one little thing right here? Because your opening needs to be very confident and very strong. You need to practice that so it rolls off of your tongue, so that you can deliver it in the correct way. Not like you're going to be angry at them, but you want to have it practiced enough that you can say it with confidence, because your opening line is probably going to be the only thing that you get. The rest of the script, 99% of the time, you get shut down on that first question. So make it a good one.
If you got the right price for your home, would you still consider offers? Right? Whatever it is, just know that there's an opening, and you're just uncovering if there's still a possible sale. And by the way, when they say they're not, they really are. It's that the pain is here and their motivation is here. It's not as important as how uncomfortable it was. So you've got to figure out how to adjust that, how to shift that just a little bit. All right. So as we get started, right, what are some of the things that you guys are hearing? And let's talk really quick about how you can solve some of those issues.
I have one. If
Okay.
you guys don't have one, I have a good one. You're the 100th agent that's called me today.
I know how to make those phone calls stop. Let me ask you a question. Would you still consider offers on your home if I could get you the right price for your home?
That's good.
Yep. Lucky for you, I know how to make that stop.
I like that. Anyone else have a good one?
The only thing I thought of was when he said, if you got the right price for your home, would you still consider offers? What if they say no?
Yeah. What if they do say no? Oh, unfortunately, I'm hearing that a lot. Was your decision to pull your home off the market based on the frustration with today's market, or did your circumstances actually change?
Yep, I like that too.
Yeah, I like that too.
So what if
Sometimes they say they're not going to move anymore. They decided to stay.
Yep.
And,
Yeah,
like I
unfortunately,
rented it out or I'm just not
where I'm
yeah,
gonna
we
be-
decided not to move. Unfortunately, I hear that a lot in today's market, and most of the time it's based on frustration with their past experience, and I don't blame you. Can I ask you really quick, what was the catalyst? What got you started thinking about making a move in the first place? Right?
And when
My
are you thinking about
family-
putting it back on the market?
Yeah.
So back to your motivation, right out of Sales Rocket 11.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty straightforward. Let's talk about some of the challenging ones, just because it's going to give you some ideas on the others. I'm a real estate agent,
Oh yes, that's a good one.
right? I'm a real estate agent. How many of you guys have called expireds and somebody said I'm a real estate agent? I totally get it. Can I ask you a really quick question? What was the catalyst? What were you guys thinking when you decided to sell your home? Right? Go to motivation, understand that first. But here's the truth. How much were they trying to save by selling the home on their own?
3%.
3%.
Maybe 3%, usually 2.5% in today's world with our prices, right? So if you can come up with a solution that's 2.5% or greater, they'll hire you, which is how I set the appointment, right? I said, can I ask you a question? What was the catalyst? Well, this is why we decided to sell. Why do you think your home didn't sell? Well, I'm pretty sure it was the price. When you did the CMA, did you come close? Did you price it higher? Did you price it? We priced it a little high, but I think we were close. How much were you guys hoping to save? By listing it on your own, 2.5%, 3%. Well, 3% on a $400,000 home is how much? $12,000.
Yeah.
If I could show you a way that I could put $12,000 in your pocket, not just once, but multiple times over the next couple of years, by sharing with you a couple of strategies that have allowed me to sell homes for a higher price per square foot than my competition, that have allowed me to sell hard to sell homes at a premium. If I could share with you how I did that so that you could make the $12,000 not just once when you sell your home, but multiple times because you learned from one of the top agents in the Valley, would you consider the possibility of partnering with me on the sale of your home so that I can mentor you and teach you how to make this money, not just once, but multiple times over the next several years? Would you consider that possibility? Her husband was in the background listening. He said, yes. He wanted to move. He didn't like his home. He wanted to move. This was a solution, right? So there is just a thought, you guys, as you're going through this. Here's another one from earlier this year. Rod, you sound really nice. Older lady. Rod, you sound really nice. But my agent was my son.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. How long has he been selling real estate? Right? Well, he mostly does property management. Ding, 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 right? Oh, interesting. It's a completely different field. I know he's licensed, but going to real estate school doesn't teach you anything. How many homes has your son sold over the last couple of years? None. How long was your home on the market? 6 months? How many times did you show your house? Let me ask you this. If I were able to not only get your house sold, found out where she was moving down south, get away from the winter weather. If I could get your property sold and pay your son and mentor him so that we could accomplish two things, make him, not lose face with the family. Hey, I brought in a partner and we were able to get you moved. Do you think your son cares about you enough to make sure that we get you to a better place, better environment for you than where you're at? Well, yes. Set the appointment, went out. The end result, I didn't get that listing. The son came out and he was absolutely irritated. We had a couple of conversations. She waited. They decided to go back on the market in 30 days using my strategies with their son and didn't hire me, but that's okay. It still got me in the door. It gave me an opportunity to talk to somebody. Those are some tough ones. What about we've decided to rent it? That's happening a lot, right? That's happening a lot. How familiar are you with the rental market? Is this your first property or do you have several others? No, this is our first. Oof. It's interesting because I talk to people every single day that are actually getting out of the rental game because the market's softened, rents are going down a little bit, it's getting harder, and boy, the tenants have turned into experienced professional tenants. Have you guys heard some of those stories? Right? Let me ask you this. Did you really want to sell your home? What were your plans with the equity?
Ooh, I like that.
What were your plans with
Back
the
to
equity?
motivation.
Well, I was planning on, going on a couple of cruises. I was planning to go to Disneyland. I was planning on refurbishing my savings to make sure that I had enough because I'm going into retirement and medication is expensive. Okay, interesting. So let me ask you this. Would you want to be a landlord and manage somebody else's problem? Or if you could still get the right price for your home today and we could get you the equity out so that you could replenish your savings, go on a couple of vacations, make sure that you have money for medications. If I could do that for you, would you still consider selling your home?
That's good.
Anybody else have any objections that you're running into on the phone?
Bree, you've called expireds before. What are some of the objections that you got?
You handled pretty much all of them. I think the main one I run into is that we're most likely going to use our agent again. We're just taking a break on the market, see if the market gets a little bit better in the meantime.
Oh, that's a good one.
So
I'm super glad you brought that one up because that is super common, right? That
Yeah.
is common. Can I ask you a question? Right? What do you think that agent, and I'm not picking on him, but what do you think that agent is going to do different these next 90 days that they didn't do over the past 90 days that's going to help you to sell your home for the most money possible? Well, Rod, I really think it was the market. It had nothing to do with the agent. I mean, they would open houses, they marketed the property, the pictures look great, the videos look great. They did everything they could to get the property sold. How many showings did you guys have over the last, what was the feedback like? Interesting. So they didn't like your carpet. Can I ask you a question? Did the agent come up with any solutions other than giving you feedback? No. When you met the agent, obviously you've got a great relationship with them. Did you know them before, or is this somebody that you met as a realtor? One of the hardest things that I've noticed for clients is understanding who to hire and how do I recognize a great agent versus an average agent or a poor agent? What's the difference? We all have the same license, right? So how do you determine? So can I ask you, if you didn't know them, what criteria would you use to ensure that the agent you hire is the right agent for the job of selling your home and not just somebody with a real estate license? If you didn't know them, what criteria would you use? And now that they open that box, what they're really saying, what you're going to hear are all the things their agent didn't do to help them get their house sold. They were frustrated with their agent, even if they liked them a lot.
I think my main response to that is because they were so worried about the market and what's happening in the market. A lot of agents don't pull statistics and actually show them what's going on in their area. So I think my way in is, hey, do you have time for me to come over and just show you your specific area, what's going on in your market, what homes are moving at what price, and we can look at the market and the reason why your home didn't sell.
Very
Yep.
good.
Perfect. I love that.
Yeah. Did you know while you were on the market with that last agent, 27 homes sold in your price range and in your location during the 90 days that you were on the market? What was there something wrong with your house that caused it not to sell? That's a fun one, by the way. That's a fun question. Was there something wrong with your house that caused it not to sell? Because you know what? They're going to defend their house over their agent.
Yep. That's true. The next
Well,
thing
there
would
is-
be, what is your close? Because each of the objection handlers should have a close at the end of it. So you naturally handle the objection and close. Handle the objection, not like solving the problem, handling the objection, but answer the question and then close again. So talk a little bit about the close.
So the close is super simple, right? It's just all you're doing is, hey, I'm actually gonna be really close to your house. I've got a closing in your area. That's always a fun one, by the way. I've got a closing in your area and I'm gonna be out there and wrapping up with my closing just after 5 o'clock. If I were able to pop in for just a couple of minutes on my way home from the closing, would you be able to share your home with me? Would you be able to show me your home? Well, yes, but and again, you've got to make sure. I'd love to be able to see it in person, right? I always use this. I use two things. I'd love to be able to see it in person. I didn't get a chance to see it while it was on the market. I'd love to be able to get a feel for it just in case it might be a perfect match for any of the buyers I'm currently work with or anybody that I come across in the near future. Would that be okay? And then the next thing I'd love to do is I'd love to share with you what we do differently than the thousands of other agents in the market that have allowed me to not only get tough to sell homes sold, but sold at a premium. Would you have just a couple of minutes for me to share a couple of strategies, whether you decide to hire me or not? And why do I say that? I want to make it safe for them. The reason they don't want to meet with us is it's not safe to meet with an agent. They have a hard time telling people no, especially when they're in front of them. And so we've got to make it safe. Whether you decide to hire me or not, I'd love to be able to share with you a couple of strategies that you can use now and forever that will make you more money in selling your home. Would you be open to that?
Yeah.
And really, guys, have fun with this, right? Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, these are people. You know, we like people. People make the world go round, right? Like when we run into people at the park, we like to smile and have a conversation. We run into people at the grocery store, we smile and have a conversation. These are people. They're normal people. Whether they live in a $5 million home on the bench or whether they live in a $50,000 trailer, they're people. And we have a solution to their problem. They want to be able to move and we know how to make that happen. It's pretty amazing.
I mean, I think a lot of people get really intimidated by expireds because they're angry, because they are being inundated with a lot of phone calls. And so if you can make sure that your mindset going into these phone calls is they're not angry at me, they're angry at the situation. They're angry because they're getting phone calls, because it didn't sell, because, you know, all of the different reasons that come up, they're just not in a good place. But you're their angel. You can solve that problem for them. And that's really, you know, when you're picking up the phone talk and starting your expireds, just know that you're the voice that they need to hear.
So how many of you guys have gotten angry at something or someone this week?
Like everybody, right?
When you got angry, what did you want your spouse, partner, friend to do?
Just listen.
Yeah,
Listen.
listen.
It's the nail, right? You've seen the video of the nail. That's super funny. Yeah, just listen. What else? Did you want him to solve your problem?
Not right there.
No, guys, you can't solve a problem when somebody's emotionally charged. That's not the time to solve a problem. How do you get them to come down off of that angry ledge?
You
Here's a
lead
funny
with your
thing, right?
voice and
Last
tonality.
2 weeks ago on Tuesday, exactly, I was at a softball game at a park in Sandy, and there was a guy batting, and he fouled a ball off into the road, and there was a car driving by, and that foul ball came down and smacked the top of that car really hard. Well, it freaked him out. They pulled over, and the guy gets out of the car and he's lit up. He's yelling at the scorekeeper, he's yelling at the umpire, he's saying who hit the foul ball, just screaming, right? And everybody swearing, screaming, really angry. So I walked over and I said, hey guys, what happened? Right? Well, you saw it. Nobody here is willing to say who did it. And I said, okay, I said, there's probably a reason for that, right? Well, at a golf course, they hang up, and all I did was just listen to them vent, listen to them get it all out. At a golf course, if somebody hits a golf ball and hits a car, that person's responsible. I said, that's golf. It's a single person's game. It is a little bit different than softball. There's a ball being thrown, there's a ball being hit. Nobody has control over that. I'm like, unfortunately, this is one of those difficult things. And I said, we could probably get you a hold. Anyways, at the end of the day, he said, he shook my hand, walked me over, showed me the big dent in his car was right above his wife's head, nearly hit the windshield, could have broke the glass. It kind of panicked him a little bit. He calmed down in seconds because all he wanted was for somebody to hear him out. He didn't want a solution. He didn't want to be ignored. He just wanted somebody to hear him out. And as soon as he was heard out, he came right back down. And now we're in a place where we can talk about solutions, and it solved everything. When you talk to somebody, whether they've gotten 15 phone calls and are really tired and angry, all you have to do is just listen to them and allow them to get that frustration out. Guys, that's got to be frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Just
So,
encourage them to talk. That's it.
okay. I have a couple of tips for tomorrow that we want to go through. And the first one, you want to write these down because every single end of the month, last day, this is what you want to do for the first. You want to think about what you're eating. Don't eat a big meal the night before because it takes a lot of energy for your body to process that heavy meal. So, Rod, no French fries tonight, no hamburger. Let's, eat clean. You want to be able to feel your best tomorrow because if your body is feeling yucky, it's really hard to stand there and be on your game. Also, limit the amount of alcohol that you drink. You can have a glass of wine, just don't drink the whole bottle because obviously that's going to make you a little bit more foggy tomorrow. So if you do drink, just don't drink very much. Look around your prospecting area, prepare it, make sure that you have your desk completely cleaned off and ready to go so that when you step into your zone, that you are ready to pick up the phone, that you're ready to dial, that you don't have the to-do list like I have right now here. Like get rid of that off of your desk for tomorrow morning so that when you walk in, you're ready to go. You're going to want to try to go to bed a little bit earlier just because it helps give you that extra hour of sleep. And plus you're going to probably get up a little bit earlier tomorrow. So plan on 30 to 60 minutes earlier to bed than normal. And then again, wake up 30 to 60 minutes earlier than you normally do. So, there's going to be some things that arise in the morning that you might need to take care of right before you jump on the phone. And so just budget your time. Also, watch out for the negative news. Like, don't read your news before bed or tomorrow morning. Don't scroll through Facebook or social media or read your emails. You can wait until 10 o'clock to get all of that done. So just make sure that you're mentally in a positive place and you just don't want like the world to come crashing in on your expired mindset. Also, prep what you're going to wear tomorrow. Lay it out just as if you are going to do a workout and you put your gym shoes by your bed. Already know what you're going to wear. So tomorrow morning, you're not stressing out about it. And remember, Fresher, you liked this one. You dress for what you want, not what you have. So in the morning, you're going to want to make sure you're completely ready before 7:40 because that's when we do the role play room. So make sure your makeup's on and well, except for Ross. Make sure that your hair's done and, all of those things so that you can drop everything. When you set that appointment, you can run out in a half an hour and take that listing appointment or take that listing. Now, I don't know how many people are working out in the morning right now, but if you do, don't do leg day. Is that the hardest day, Bree? Is legs? Don't do legs tomorrow. Make sure that you've got enough energy to make it throughout the day because I believe every one of you have the opportunity to set a listing appointment tomorrow and take a listing by the end of the day. You all have that ability. And so you're going to have a lot of energy, especially when it's the first time. We're going to be around too tomorrow to help you put together your presentation, your CMAs and all of that. So we really hope that you are getting that appointment. Now, Jeff says arrive 30 minutes early to your office. And that's super easy for you because you just walk into your room. So you may not have to go 30 minutes. You can probably get away with 15, but you're going to want to make sure that you've got your coffee done, that you've got something like your oatmeal or something really nutritious to eat for breakfast or ready to eat on your first break. So just get everything ready. Like I have my big, huge glass of water with me today. And then assume the position. So first we're going to do role play room. And then we're going to cut the role play room off 2 minutes earlier. Like I'm going to kick everybody out. So you're going to get in, work on your expired script, and then be prepared, standing in front of your computer, ready to dial. Okay. So get into dialing position a few minutes before 8 o'clock so that you can push go. I'm going to tell you based on the prospecting pit that they have at Century 21, they don't wait until 8 o'clock to dial. They will dial before 8 o'clock. Okay. So your competition is already ahead of you by even a half an hour. So make sure that we're ready exactly at 8. And like I said, I believe every one of you have an opportunity to create some now business tomorrow.